Hi, my name's Phil. I'd like to talk about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss Boris Johnson's latest attempts, likely to be successful, to control the media in another step towards autocracy in this country, and yet another timely reminder of just how costly the decision of millions of people in this country to not vote in last December's election is proving to be. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So Boris Johnson is stepping up his attempts to control the media. It's not enough that he simply refuses to allow his ministers to be interviewed by the small section of the media that would ask difficult questions, that he's threatened the BBC into compliance, and that Rupert Murdoch is about to launch a Fox News style affair in this country with the abhorrent name of GB News. No, this isn't enough. Now he really wants to strip what little is left of media accountability and crush what little credibility is left of the BBC with a double appointment. He wants Charles Moore to be made the chairman of the BBC and former editor of the Daily Mail, Paul Dacre, to be the head of OfCom, which is the watchdog in this country with oversight over media behaviour. And these two people have been very open in pushing for a hard right-wing agenda in the media. Charles Moore is a man who boasts about never having watched, or never watches television rather, and refuses to pay his licence fee. And he's to be made the head of the BBC. This is rather like having the Vegan Society run by Ronald McDonald, I feel. And what's shocking, or at least what should be shocking, but let's face facts, we're so numbed to this sort of thing now that we're not really anymore, is that people can be completely open and honest about the reasons for this. You know, it's a bit like the Conservative breaching their own Brexit treaty and breaking international law. The fact that they're completely open about it, they're not even trying to say that it's fine legally, is because they feel confident that they have gaslighted the country into a state where enough of us will just accept it. And you know what? They might be right. And it's the same thing here. There's no pretense about the fact that these appointments will be apolitical. That, you know, they're the right people with the right experience. They just happen to be pro-Brexit. They just happen to be pro-conservative. They just happen to be very right-wing. But, you know, they are the right people with the right skills to be put in charge of these institutions. No. Arch-Brexiteer and Conservative MP Steve Baker welcomed the news, and on an interview, he said that he was very keen on both of these prospects. And he said the reason for this was because they were both Conservatives. He was actually praising their political bias as being a benefit in roles that you should exercise careful impartiality in. And needless to say, legal action has been initiated, to see if there's any way of preventing the government making these political appointments without any due process at all. Don't get me wrong, the government do make these appointments. That's understood. And as a result, sometimes they will be political, as a consequence. You could argue always if you let government do anything, it's going to be political. However, there is no due process here. They're just going to they intend, at any rate, the appointments haven't been made. They intend to just make these appointments, and that's all there is to it. I wouldn't get your hopes up, though, because although it sounds like it's the sort of thing where it should be blocked, it can't possibly be right not going through due process. This legal action sounds exploratory to me. It may well be that the government are absolutely at liberty to do this, and unlike some of the other things that Boris Johnson, Dominic Cummings are up to, dropping them from the government, getting rid of them, which we would think is going to happen in the next 6 months, will not necessarily stop this, because these appointments will find favour with Conservatives in general, and any successor to Boris Johnson would also follow through on this if they are able. And I think we can expect to see more of this as the next few years roll by. We really shouldn't be surprised. We're not even quite a year after Boris Johnson won that majority in the general election. Because as with so many other things, we only need to look a few thousand miles to the west of us. Donald Trump facing possible defeat in this November's election. Too many people saying likely. I really don't want to say that. But possible, should we say? Can we agree possible defeat this November? Is increasingly desperate to hold on to power. I mean, he just last week said that he will not guarantee a peaceful transition, should there need to be one. He and the Republicans around him are pulling every dirty trick in the book to remove what little democracy is left within their country. The Conservatives will do likewise, because they're not just dishonest. The current crop have no fundamental respect for their country or its institutions, only their own power. They will attack anything and everything to preserve that power. And the more effective opposition politicians become, because we really haven't had that effectiveness recently, but the more effective they become, the more they will fight dirty. You know, the Conservatives, that is. And the media is really important for this. You cannot overstate how important the media are in this. Brexit could not have happened if we had an honest media with the national interest at heart. Last year's general election could not have produced the result it did without media compliance. Putting people into control the largest provider of news in the country and also controlling oversight over the behaviour of all media, that means we'll be facing an increasingly hostile media base going into the next election. And it's not like Moore and Dacre will have to work quickly even. They'll have years to subvert these organisations. That, you know, they'll just dismantle them carefully over time, bit by bit, very slowly, without drawing too much attention to what they're doing over several years they've got, if they need to. And come the next election, these organisations will bear absolutely no recognition to what we have now. No resemblance at all. And what we have now is not good enough from either of them for a supposedly democratic nation. Moore will represent a BBC chair who hates the BBC. He has already said he would pull a lot of the original programming that it does. Dacre is also someone who champions press freedom. All well and good, but OfCom exists to tell the media that with freedom comes responsibility. Dacre is not interested in the responsibility, he only wants the freedom. So with these two in charge, OfCom will become toothless and the BBC will become commercialised and politicised. For all the talk of, you know, this new Fox News style GB News being launched by Rupert Murdoch in the UK very soon, we might well find ourselves with two versions of Fox soon enough. And we said how important that the last general election was. You know, normally when the party you support loses the general election, you worry for the next few years. You know, as a Labour supporter and the Conservatives get in, I think, oh, they're going to bugger up jobs, they're going to bugger up some of our freedoms. But you prepare to get back on your horse next time around. You expect there to be a limited amount of damage that maybe can be reversed. We knew this was different. We said that if Boris Johnson won the general election last year, that the UK, as we know it, will simply not exist next time round. This wasn't about losing another general election. This was about losing the country. And my fervent hope is that Keir Starmer leads Labour to victory in 2024. That in itself is a mountain to climb that I live in hope of, not expectation. But even if he does, even if it turns it right around, he will not simply be able to turn the country back again, get it back on track. He'll just be there to sweep up the ashes of what used to be my country. Because what will have changed between Johnson's victory and the next general election? Well, we'll have left the EU. That has already happened. So that's one major thing that's already happened. We'll have ruinous trade barriers with most of the world. Again, not a lot of stopping that now. We'll have constituency boundaries changed to favour the Conservatives. Recording national debts, you know, that leaves very little left for public services. On almost completely privatised healthcare system, politically controlled media, politically controlled courts if they get their way, and deafening calls for the UK to call it a day and just split up into its constituent parts. This is how important last December was. Just the same as 4 years ago in the United States. I remember at the time, just before the election, I think it might have been the day before the election in America, as a Liberal commentator, Bill Maher, saying, as the election day was done, he was saying that he'd said various things about Republican candidates in the past, and he said he went too far. He was wrong to say what he'd said about some of them, and he said these were honourable men with whom he disagreed, but he said that Trump was different. He was emphasising the need to go out and vote because he knew fundamentally that a majority of people in America would not propel Trump into the White House. If everyone in America that could have voted, Trump would not have won the presidency. Trump's greatest ally was voter apathy. And the same is true here. If people had have gone out and voted, they might not have got the government they'd have cheered about. That's why they didn't go out to vote, because there was no way of them getting the government that they really wanted. But they would have avoided one that would just tear down everything. Absolutely everything. And just like in America, voter apathy, a lot didn't go out because they didn't really have a party or a candidate that they wanted to really back. And so they just didn't vote for anyone. And now that we're stuck with the consequences of that. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.